Well, the biggest union, Unite, says it's raised concerns about the toilet facilities as well. We're going to be talking now to Phil Silkstone, a regional officer for the South East branch, which has over 3,000 lorry driver members in Kent, Sussex and part of Surrey. Phil, thanks very much indeed for coming on. Give us a little bit of detail about what your members are concerned most about.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me on this show to bring forward this vital and crucial, long-standing issue. What we're worried about is that the toilet facilities that are being offered and supplied on these lorry parks is woefully inadequate. We've had no assurances about welfare facilities other than that Portaloos will be available. I mean, the Health and Safety Executive, for instance, outlined for building sites that there should be one portable toilet for every 7 users, given the fact that one of the sites alone is capable of holding 1,700 lorries. That's over 230 Portaloos that will be required. So our concerns are that given that there will be inadequate facilities, then drivers will be forced to utilise, for want of a better way of putting it, the bushes close to where their vehicles are parked, with all the health hazards that brings. Now, I mean, it's a long-standing problem anyway in regards to toilet facilities for lorry drivers across the country, including Kent. Often the councils, the borough councils and the county councils will close lay-bys rather than actually supplying services.
Do we know yet how many Portaloos the government are going to be providing at each of the lorry parks?
We haven't been included as a union in these discussions.
Right. And
that's what we're asking. We're asking support from the various councils in the region to actually give us a voice.
And until you know what facility is going to be provided, why is there concern? For all we know, there may well be one toilet per 7, as you're asking for.
Well, at the moment, and that's a short-term measure, the fact is that these are not expected to be short-term sites, with further planned sites to open in July 2021, with further provisions for sites to be open in East Sussex, Essex, Hampshire, Kent, Medway, Portsmouth, Southampton and Thurrock, and that's just in our region. Never alone the various sites across the country, such as in Birmingham, Holyhead, South Wales, which have already been confirmed. It would not be acceptable to have Portaloos on site for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months and further. Building sites that operate for that length of time would at the very least put porter cabins with proper toilet facilities on site for people to use. And it's not acceptable for professional heavy goods vehicles delivering the goods across the country and into Europe to have no toilet facilities, or very limited toilet facilities.
Yeah, although, I mean, Rachel Maclean, the Transport Minister, said detailed plans for Portaloos and other facilities have been worked up. Now, I've not seen any detail on that, but it is something that they are thinking about, and we've still got 6 or 7 weeks yet. Putting a load of Portaloos in a lorry park probably isn't something that's going to take months and months of planning. You can just put them there, can't you?
Portaloos are not really a sufficient alternative to having proper facilities, rest facilities, for instance, where drivers can rest outside of their lorry, cook food, wash hands. I mean, I don't know if everybody's been to concerts where, and Glastonbury, for instance, where Portaloos are supplied, and after a few days, they are not very nice places to go into.
Right. OK, so you're concerned, although we don't know what this will look like, that the lorry parks are there to put the lorry. What there aren't are proper facilities, such as, say, what are you looking for? Something similar to what you'd get in a service station?
Exactly, yes. I mean, given the time constraints for those that are due to open in January, that might have to be in the short term, not portable loos, but portable cabins with proper toilet facilities built into them, including facilities to rest and facilities to wash their hands. Given the COVID crisis that we're in, that's part of the reason why the councils are closing some of the lay-bys, because of the fears of them being used in the absence of toilets.
I mean, we're focusing a little bit on the toilets. Obviously, you've got wider concerns there, as you mentioned there. Is it one toilet per 7 drivers really
Not seven
necessary?
drivers. No, I haven't got the HSE for drivers.
Right.
The HSE instructions for building sites on short-term usage of chemical toilets is to have one for every seven people likely to use those.
Right. So how many? What would that translate into? Say, I can't remember what the capacity of the lorry park is, but say per 1,000 lorries, how many were we looking at? I'm just trying to sort of work out what it might look like.
Well, I mean, one site alone down in Ashford, Seventon, Ashford, has got a capacity of 1,700 lorries. That would translate, if you divide that by 7, I think it's 230, isn't it?
Right. Okay. So yes. So you would say a sufficient number there would be. I'll do the quick maths in a minute, but yeah, 230 toilets for 17,000 lorries. That's its capacity. It's not going to be full the whole time, is it?
Well, at the moment, they've actually got plans to have standby facilities for when they do become full at Manston Airport, which has got a capacity of 4,000 lorries. There's also plans to have 3 miles of the A2, which I believe you're going to talk to a council in a minute about.
Yep.
3 miles of the A2 for Operation Stack. And those plans are put in place, I believe, with very, very scant provisions for toilets. So I think the expectation is that the worst case scenario, according to the government, is that 7,000 lorries could be waiting at any one point to travel across the channel. And there, the potential, if there is insufficient toilet facilities in general and around the lorry parks, then people do have to actually go at some particular point.
Yeah. Isn't that going to be the worst case scenario, though?
That is the government's projected worst case scenario, yes, 7,000 lorries at this particular
But you'd like
point.
the provision on the basis that it could be 7,000 at any time?
I would like the provisions for adequate toilet facilities for lorry drivers, full stop. For far too long, lorry drivers have been overlooked in regards to toilet facilities, and at present, when you look for all the various plans and the various consultations for these lorry parks, the one group that's been excluded from that is representatives of lorry drivers.
Okay, I've got a couple of statements and I'm going to read them to you. You tell me what you think of them. Kent County Council's statement. District and borough councils are responsible for waste clearance and street cleansing around the county's roads. Working together as part of the Kent Resilience Forum, we've had plans in place for many months and will continue to work together in the transition period. They say local partners are working together to plan a traffic management system that best fits with sites available for the government for freight parking and checks. So that's the lorry parks, I assume. And they say as part of the ongoing work, the government has ensured there will be toilet provision for drivers at those sites around Kent. They also say KRF partners will continue to work together and support communities and businesses in Kent and Medway, and they're planning for a wide range of other contingencies, including the welfare of vulnerable communities and winter weather. That last bit isn't part of the discussion you're having at the moment. We have also asked the Department of Transport. They directed to Highways England. They say they are going to be sending us something, but we haven't got that yet. What do you make of that? And it does say to me it is being thought of. Do you feel it's being thought of to the extent of the facilities that you need?
At the moment, we've got nothing to prove that is actually being thought of to the extent where we believe that it needs to be, such as welfare facilities. The assurance that we've got so far, from what we can see, is that it's going to be simply Portaloos. And that's the only assurance that we've got. But we have asked on a national basis for my national officer to be part of the Kent Resilience Forum, and we've had no response at all to be included in these consultations.
Do you mean your union's not involved, or is there no representative for hauliers at all on that committee?
I believe hauliers may well be represented, but we have asked as a union, and we are the largest union representing lorry drivers with tens of thousands of lorry drivers across the country. And so far, we've been excluded from these discussions.
But if hauliers are represented on these discussions, that should be okay, shouldn't it?
I think they've got concerns as well about the provisions for their drivers.
Yeah.
I think there's serious concerns from the hauliers centred around the passport to enter Kent and the IT systems that brings. So there's concerns all round from hauliers, from us representing lorry drivers. And as you'll hear, there's concerns from councillors, residents, and everybody. My main concern, obviously, is the drivers, and obviously the residents of Kent, who are also our members as well.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. What will happen if the government doesn't listen? What will your drivers end up having to do?
Well, at the moment, our drivers, if there aren't adequate facilities, will have to make their own provisions. And if there are inadequate toilet facilities, at some particular point, people do have to go. A driver will travel for 4.5 hours before they have to stop. And if they stop at a location where there are no facilities, then there's only one option open to them, isn't there?
And we don't need to go into too much detail about that, obviously. Now, obviously, people have spoken to us on the programme before, members of the public, who say that what they see continuously is human waste being left by the side of the road. If there are lorry park provisions here, how would that still be happening?
If there's lorry park provisions, and obviously on a wider scale, if there were adequate facilities supplied across our road network, then what the residents are saying that they're seeing would be unlikely to continue occurring. It is a matter, a 44-tonne lorry is not something that you can just park anywhere and utilise the toilets at McDonald's, for instance.
Yeah.
It's not the same as a car driver can seek out toilets.
Yeah, but there are going to be provisions for lorry parks far more than there were 2-3 years ago.
Well, but there'll be far more lorries utilising those.
Yes, and that's the concern, that the drivers would still need to use the side of the road effectively.
Yeah, and the facilities are just not there. There is an opportunity for the government, the DFT and the county council, to start putting provisions in place. I mean, we're coming up to 2021 and we've still got drivers that are having to use lay-bys and bushes. That just can't be acceptable.
You don't have confidence it'll all be ready by the 1st of January, do you?
I have no confidence that it will be. I hope that it will.
Phil, thanks for coming on.
There is 2 months within which to organise that. So hopefully they will listen.
Just under. Phil, thanks very much for coming on. Phil Silkstone, officer from the South East Regional Branch of Unite. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme.